Welcome, everybody, to Too Legit to Crit, a tabletop role-playing podcast hosted by two guys who would be level 20 if hopes, dreams, the mood, and good vibes all had XP values.
Nice.
I apologize for the delay in getting started. As it would seem that Justin had some technical difficulties that we couldn't really kind of work around, and as you can see, he's conspicuously absent. But I am instead joined by the powerhouse of positivity himself, Stephan Kelly, aka Bald Beastie.
That's me. How are you?
Man? I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Awesome.
Man, it is an honor to have you on here with us today.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I appreciate it. I loved all of the hype on Threads. I appreciate all that good stuff. And plus, your show is awesome and hilarious. And I've been telling all my friends. So
I appreciate that. I mean,
hopefully they're watching.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully, hey, Stephan's friends, how's it going? There's normally like me and somebody else here who hates Winnie the Pooh for some weird reason. But he's not joining us today. So, but Stephan, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, I was born in the late 1900s, back in the day, back when Pong machines were cool, afros and mullets were cool. I started gaming, tabletop gaming. It was I was 9 years old, 1979, if you will. It was the expert set of Dungeons and Dragons, the blue box. But from that point on, I fell in love with tabletop games and have been playing D&D and iterations of that ever since then. I also was a fitness professional for many years, bachelor's degree in theater, which doesn't really, it is whatever it is. But so I've been spending a lot of my time growing up around my formative years, either in fitness and theater, pretending to be someone else, or role playing.
I mean, that's amazing. First of all, mullets are still cool.
Yeah, right. I guess they're coming back.
They are coming back. There is a hairdresser not in our area who is like renowned for doing mullets.
That's awesome.
He's kind of gained the fame of being the mullet guy. So,
that's cool.
To be honest, I've never been able to pull one off, and I don't think I ever will. So
me either.
But yeah, so you started in a different time than when we started. Yeah. So you will have seen like the rise of tabletop role playing game from quite an early time. So if you started in 1979, so
I was 9, and it went from being the thing you did in the basement that nobody talked about, and to watching it sort of progressively grow in popularity to where people would actually have stores, and you go to a store and you play, and then with Discord and everything, and then it became super popular thanks to people who are sharing it on Twitch and things and YouTube, and then all the different variations it goes from there, and all the different. There's so many now. I can imagine like. Right now, my 13-year-old self, if they knew what I was doing right now, would be like over the moon. It'd be really cool. So
it is. We kind of started this kind of before this most recent explosion. I think we started just as kind of Critical Role was starting out, maybe a tiny bit after. Same as like Glass Cannon and Adventure Zone and all these like major sort of forces behind this resurgence.
That's awesome.
And we were kind of along for the ride. I've told the story quite a few times of how I was drunk at the time when I first accepted to play this, and I woke up the next day going, Jesus Christ, what did I decide? And lo and behold, 8 years later, here I am with a podcast.
That's amazing. That's awesome. I mean, that's
But
sort of how Coven Crucible got started. It was Thanksgiving dinner a few years ago, and my wife comes to me because it's 13th Moon Games. We're a family run. I mean, it's me, my wife, and my daughter and my son. And it was she comes to me Thanksgiving. It was Thanksgiving break, and she comes to me. She says, "So, how would you feel about taking our relationship to the next level?" I mean, even before she even got the word level out, I'm like, "Yes, right, of course," because I'm a guy, and I'm again super excited about everything. And then she said, "Well, how would you feel about writing a tabletop game with me?" I'm like, "Let's do it." We've been talking about, because this is inspired by the movies, The Last Witch Hunter and John Wick, because we love those movies and we love the concept of those movies and the action and the lore. So that's how it got started. And we've been running a play test on the Discord for 2 years. That's how a lot of our mechanics get tested. A lot of our wonderful play testers really work to break the mechanics that I write so that I can then adjust them, which is great. And I love it. I'm here for it.
I mean, that is probably the tagline that kind of jumped out to me. It's The Last Witch Hunter meets John Wick, and I was like,
right,
I'm fucking there for that.
That's what I always like to say, is like, because the art is so beautiful, and I cannot talk up my daughter enough. She's amazing digital artist. She did all the art for the first book, the core rule book, and she's doing all the art for this expansion. But it's like, as if those two movies got together and had a really pretty baby. That'd be this book. That'd be this game. So
I mean, you mentioned the artwork. The artwork is something else. It really stands out. It's got a unique. There's almost like a graphic novel sort of characteristic to it, that it just kind of pops the moment you see it, and that is some serious talent there.
Yeah, that's what I say. I keep telling her. That's what I think, and I thank you for that. And I'll make sure I pass that on. She'll be very happy to hear it.
Please do, because it is impressive. And just the game itself, I started looking into it. You were kind enough to send us some sort of test materials to kind of look into it. But we kind of had another conversation about potentially you coming along and you showing us how it's done. And on our new show, the Crit List,
I'm excited.
You're going to come on and you're going to teach us how to play Coven Crucible.
Oh, it's easy. It's easy. There's a learning curve. I say that a lot because at the beginning there's a lot of math. I mean, not a lot of math. There's math involved. The system itself it's an additive, trying to roll under a certain target number. So you have the 4 attributes, you have the 9 skills, and then you have each skill has 7 sub skills underneath it. So there's a lot of stuff at play, and it can look daunting, but once you get the hang of it, that you have to add all these things, and then you have modifiers. Once you get that number, you can just write that number down somewhere, and then whenever you have to roll that number, you just say, okay, I need to roll underneath that number on 2 12-sided dice. 12-sided dice, because the D12s did not get enough love.
Yeah, that's, because, dice pools, I've seen D10 dice pools, I've seen D6 dice pools, I've seen D100s, but yet D12s doesn't get enough love.
Right. That's what I thought. And so I'm like, let's do it that way. And we did, and it works.
So. No, I think it's fantastic. So what was the, let's kind of go back to the beginning.
Sure. I'm all over the place. Sorry, man.
So Thanksgiving dinner.
Yep.
Your lovely wife comes up to you and says, let's take this to the next level. Let's write a system.
Yep.
Where do you go from there? Did you already have something in mind, or
that's a good question. Oh no, I'm excited about this. So if I cut you off, I apologize. And if I start talking too fast, just say, hey man, I can't understand the thing you're saying. Slow down. So, because I live for this. I'm excited about this. And so we had talked before when we were watching the Last Witch Hunter, and we saw it. We watched it a couple times every year or so. we'll watch it, and we look at it and we're like, it'd be really cool to run a game in this world. Like, yeah, okay, and we talk about it, and then we just forget about it. The next thing comes along, and then we watch the John Wick series. We're like, this is really. I love the combat. I love how devastating and brutal and quick, but yet and potentially lethal it is. But it's just so cinematic. They're doing whacked out stuff. So we then that happened. The pink haired dynamo that is my wife. She asked me that, and I was like, okay, let's do this. And so we started writing and talking and collaborating. And even to this day, like even last week, we sat down, we were sitting together, lounging and talking about stuff and taking notes about house lore and things. And so we took it from there, and we had to come up with, well, how are we going to do the mechanics? How are we going to do this? And I did not want it to be another roll this and add this, or roll this and add this, or try to get, whatever. And so, because people are so used to D20 nowadays, and it's not bad. I mean, it works for what it's supposed to. But I wanted something different. I wanted something that could be unique in a way. And it turns out that the D12, that's part of the impetus for the D12s as well. But I do love the D12s, and just something about them, and two of them, which is great. So it's all you need, 2 D12s. So that's how it started. We collaborated. We spent the next few months writing, and then we asked some of our friends that we usually game with on Discord to come with us and form a playtest group and see if they wanted to try it out. And that's how it started. That's where we went, and we've been rolling from there. We do a playtest. We do one over voice on Wednesday nights and over text on Friday nights, and we've been doing that pretty steady for the last 2 years. We took a small hiatus over the summer.
So once you once you get the sort of the sort of world, so let's kind of go to kind of like the lore side of things.
Oh yeah.
So tell us about the world of this game. Tell us about.
Well, yeah, it's we really enjoyed again the idea of the Continentals from the John Wick series. These hotels that were neutral ground, safe places, hospitality. So we kind of incorporated an idea similar to that. The idea of the world, it's modern day. Storytellers feel free to include what aspects of the modern day they want. But the majority of it is that you've got this world where witchcraft and magic is a skill that is learned like any other skill, like programming, or and learning another language, stuff like that. It's present. Everybody has the potential to do it. It's not like somebody woke up and they're a witch because they can cast these powers or whatever. It's very much that you are. Everyone has potential to learn how to cast magic, but it takes time and effort and skill, much like pursuing a degree in programming or a programming career. I use programming a lot because that's one of the most challenging things I could ever think of. So yeah, that's the core of it. Is that magic exists, and it has existed for centuries. It's existed for a long time, but it hasn't been organized until for the last few hundred years. And so these witches, because you can be a witch, known witch. Like I'm a witch. I'm known for summoning magic or for divination, alchemy, stuff like that. Or you can be I'm a guard who casts magic, so to help me spot intruders better or something. So you don't have to be a witch, but everybody has potential to cast spells. You don't have to cast spells. You can be a non-caster, which is totally fine too. The game is sort of geared toward spellcraft and witchcraft and magic, but it's not. And we have a character in our playtest who's been playing for over a year that's never cast a spell and doesn't cast magic. So it's possible. That's the basics. And there have these. You have these. The reason it's called Coven Crucible is because you have these crucibles, which are these hotels scattered around the world that are neutral ground for witches. They're safe places. They have rules against any kind of violence or any kind of magical violence as well inside them. And they're very stylized, very much after the Continentals. You have all these witches. They have this giant hotel with some shops or with lounges, and people will go there. But only witches can access it, or witches, or people who are with a witch, accompanying a witch. So again, that's that safe space. And then there's the Coven. As you might imagine, witches would organize into groups, especially back before they were popular, when they were hunted. And so they were very, very secretive. And so they would form in these little groups, these circles, and then these circles would grow, or they were members of a family that were witches. They would then create these houses. There are 9 major witch houses, and they, together with a few independent witches, and then somebody put in charge, so they call him the CEO. They formed the Coven, which is essentially a big corporation, and it should have this dark megacorp kind of feel to it. It's like, yeah, these are witches, and they're supposed to represent witches in disputes and things, but corporation, and they have a board of directors, and they have the CEO, and they have all this stuff, and so and they always want to absorb everything, right? And the Continentals are like, nope, we're neutral, you can't absorb us, and they tried. We even wrote a bit of lore recently that's going to be in the Unbound about a military assault on on a couple of the crucibles.
Yeah.
And it failed, and so then there's all sorts of stuff to go. I don't want to give too much away yet, but
of course.
But yeah, no, it's the world, and my wife does a lot of the lore writing. I do the mechanics. I'm the math guy. She's the lore, but yeah, it's full of, and that's what the expansion is really going to bring to life. Is a lot of the stuff we are expanding on, the houses, expanding on the planes of existence, expanding on all of that stuff. And introducing a couple of new rules, and there will be also an addendum of sorts that's going to be that I'm going to put up on Drive-Thru RPG for free, so that, because I think we mentioned this before we got on, when we were running the Kickstarter for this, we had most of it written already. Just like for this one, we had most of it already. We've been working on it all summer in the last few months. So it's mostly finished. We're not writing anything new. Essentially, we're just fleshing stuff out.
Yeah.
But it was a year ago, I had a major heart attack, and during the first few days of the Kickstarter, and so that kind of had an impact on how things progressed. And we set a deadline for us to publish it that I think was a bit eager.
Yeah.
And so we got it out on time. It was a few months, which is pretty quick from what I hear. There were some errors, and there were some things that it was a bit rushed. So there are some things that are incongruous with it, but the addendum will fix that, and the new rules will help expand upon that too. So it's exciting.
It sounds massively exciting. And you said it was a family run company. So did the company get created at the same time that you guys went, we're going to build a system, or were you already kind of established beforehand?
No, the company came about after we started running this thing, creating this, and the company itself came about shortly, a few months before we actually did the first Kickstarter. When we're like, okay, this is going to be it, and this is how we're going to do it, and everybody gets paid.
Yeah.
So we by the Art Goblin, she loves going by the Art Goblin. It's my daughter. She gets paid for the art that she does, and then once everything gets done, we all get paid for it. Writing, mechanics.
Yeah.
My son, who is going on 13, he does a lot of stuff with the Discord because he's pretty technical. He's tech savvy. I'm not. I watch a couple YouTube videos and I'm good. That's about it.
So we could have done with him when Justin's internet crapped out.
He might have been able to help, but if he wasn't busy with schoolwork right now. But yeah, and then my wife, she is like I mentioned, she's a published author.
Yeah.
She's a pagan author, and so she gets to pull a lot of stuff from that experience and her experience into this to put into the core book, which we did, and then put into this expansion. And it helps a lot, I think, to have that perspective, because in the game, magic is intentional. It's powered by intention. It's not, a lot of times it's not visible. It's, unless you're sitting there with a grimoire in your hand and pointing at your target, casting a spell at them, they're not going to know you're doing anything until they get hurt or until something happens to them. So, yeah, but that's
kind of, yeah. Sorry. So kind of leaning on the magic element, because a lot of systems that come out now, they always kind of come under criticism because they are based on Vancian magic. Is Coven Crucible like that, or is there any way of kind of managing the resource of magic?
That's the interesting. We've had discussions about that. Magic is how we've kind of come up with this is that magic is fleeting. Magic is not permanent. You can't permanently change someone into a toad. You can't permanently do this with that. The only permanent abilities that are around are things that are forged with magic items. Things like Durandal, which is Roland's sword, or Excalibur, something like that. But magic is measured, like magic duration is measured in mins. There's no magical pool. There's no, like, I have a finite amount of spell points, and once I'm out of spell points, I can't do anything. That's not it. Magic is all about intention, and you can cast it because it's a skill that you've learned. I mean, obviously, a programmer is going to eventually fall asleep because they're tired, because their body's physically tired. They're not like they ran out of programming juice, right?
Yeah.
I didn't run out of writing juice, so I'm not going to run out of magic juice. It's you can always cast magic. There's no limit to that. The only limitation of what you can do and how you do it is based on what your levels in the subskill are, which are the foci. It's really that's not to get too into mechanics, but which I can do, but that's it's how well you succeed is based on the subskill that you have. So if I'm a master diviner, I'm going to have a lot of levels in divination.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be when I succeed, it's going to be phenomenally well. I'm going to get a really good success. Whereas somebody who maybe only has a level or two in it is maybe not going to
struggle a bit. Is going to struggle a bit more. And so there is. So the way I'm understanding it is that there is an element of it where spells can fail.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The mechanics of it is, I tried to keep it simple, right?
Yeah.
Mechanics of it is, you have a target number that is generated by your own stats.
Yeah.
And you try to roll under that target number on 2d12. Now, if you succeed, well, then you've succeeded. That's great. And how well you succeed, again, is based on that subskill level. But there could be modifiers. So it's a lot different, say, casting a spell on someone who's sitting right in front of you than maybe divining where that person's going to be a day from now. And so there are difficulty ratings assigned that the storyteller will assign, and what those difficulty ratings impact what your target number is. So let's say, just to throw something out there, let's say a character's trying to divine the future, which is risky at best. And the storyteller assigns a hard difficulty. That hard difficulty translates to target number being halved. So all of a sudden, you may have had a 28, which you can always roll under 2d12, but all of a sudden it's now a 14. And rolling under that, right, under 2d12 is going to be a bit of a challenge. And if you fail, well, then you fail. You didn't get it. But if you succeed, well, then hooray, good for you. If you roll a 13, that's the thing. 13s are our crits.
Okay.
13s. If your target number is 13 or higher and you roll a 13, then that's a critical success. If your target number is 12 or less and you roll a 13, that's a critical failure. Bad things happen. So that's it.
No, it sounds really cool.
Thank you. I make it sound easy. and and essentially it can be once you get the hang of it. But again, like I said, there's a learning curve because you got to figure out what applies to what target number. There's traits that
Okay.
people can purchase that define a character because you have the stats and you have your skills and you have your sub skills, but then you have traits that really help flesh out what that character has been through,
Yeah.
right? So traits, and we've listed them into different types. Like there's magical traits, like esoteric traits. There's personality traits, which gives bonuses to some things and penalties to others.
That's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, like bully. Obviously, you get a positive modifier to your target number for intimidation,
Yeah.
but for persuasion or anything else, it's not.
Yeah, I like
So
that. That's a really cool concept.
that was one of my wife doesn't do a lot of mechanics, but she wanted to do something like that, and that's what we
Mm.
incorporated. It was her idea, which is great. I think so.
No, I mean it sounded really interesting. So I'm just kind of kind of figure out where to go next. So we started with, we created this Kickstarter, we created this company. How did the kids get involved?
Well, we asked them. Just like we told them what we told them what we were doing. We're like, we're making this game, and the first actual thing we did was my wife ran a scenario for me, the first ever before we even did the play test, just to see how things work and how the mechanics worked. And it was choppy at best. But then my kids, who are all very like they're very into gaming, they're very into wonderful creative stuff. And like my son is writing, he's coding Roblox games, and my daughter, right, exactly. I'm like, okay, cool. I think it's awesome. I have no idea what he's doing. But she and my daughter, she's been doing art since she was junior high, I think, elementary. I don't know. She's been into art forever. And so we just told them what we were doing, and we asked them if they'd like to help. And of course, they all said yes. And I think that is really solidified, because I say my daughter, Charlotte, is my stepdaughter. I inherited her with I inherited her with the marriage, which is awesome. And she's been amazing, but she's like my daughter. But it really forged a strong connection. So
Yeah.
I think it really has strengthened the fact that we can all work together on something and produce it, and give it to the world. I think has really been absolutely amazing, and it's been a wonderful experience so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's because I've kind of perused the stuff you sent me, and the quality of it is outstanding.
Well, thank you.
It's really good. It's really engaging, and I'm cannot wait to kind of test it out.
Right?
The more you're talking about it, the more I just want to just say, you know what, I'm gonna grab my 2d12 and let's start rolling shit.
Let's roll it. Let's roll it right now.
Because I am well up for that. Just everything about it, the world and the sort of the sort of mythical nature of the whole continental aspect, because I think that's something that the John Wick movies did really well. They kind of went, okay, here's a balls to the wall action movie, but there's this mythos that's added in that is really engaging, and the fact that we have a chance to kind of play in that it's very exciting.
Oh yeah, that was one of the big draws too. Is being able to staff that, because the core book is based in Chicago, because that's where we lived up until a year and a half ago. And so we based it in Chicago, huge metropolitan city, and being able to staff it and with NPCs, and just come up with the idea of what does that mean? What does it do? What is it? How is hospitality enforced? And who are the regular residents? Who are the regular visitors? There's one of our I love my favorite NPC. One of my favorite NPCs. His name is Polaris. He's in the core book. He's a Merlin from the Merlin house, who's essentially stays in the Crucible.
Okay.
why, and that means he's incredibly wealthy. Why he's staying in the Crucible is interesting. There's a bit of lore that hasn't really been explored. Like, he could be living out here. He obviously, there's other reasons, and he gives reasons publicly, but what's the real reason, right?
Yeah.
And just this and with the shops, like there's apothecaries. We created a a coffee shop that's a witch-run coffee shop that's a chain called Magic Beans, and so they're in every Crucible that's around, and so you can always go to the Crucible and go to a Magic Beans and get your either mundane espresso or your alchemical espresso.
I'm going to take an alchemical, like
right, exactly, exactly. So that was just one of the really cool things to work on, and I loved about helping write some of the lore, coming up with some of the ideas for the lore behind the history of the Crucibles, which you'll see in the expansion. So.
Right. So can you tell us if like what you were saying before about, what is the real reason for this guy and what he was doing? Is that something that you have written in the lore, or is that something that you've kind of left somewhat vague for?
A bit of both. A little column A, a little
okay.
column B. It's because my wife came up with the NPC, and so he tells everybody, well, it's because Merlins. I have to go a little bit of a detail with the Merlins. The House Merlin, they're all about misdirection. They are very flamboyant. They dress up in wizard hats, pointy wizard hats, and big gray beards, and they have this image that they present, and everybody's like, "That's ridiculous," but it's what they do.
Yeah.
But they do that so that people they're focused on their costume and their outfit or their appearance rather than what they're actually doing, which is a lot of behind the scenes work. And the reason why someone would be living in a Crucible is because hospitality. You can't come into a Crucible and just try to assassinate somebody. We saw what happened in the Wick movies in the Continental, but
yeah.
But so there's reasons why he might have pissed off the wrong people or pissed off the wrong witches. Maybe there's a bounty on him that's been for or whatever. So there's some history there. I can't tell you exactly. Part of it is because it's still hidden in the writing, and there's still plots and stuff. And just in case any of our playtesters are watching, they don't want to give too much away. But
that's absolutely fine.
But yeah, so there's reasons. And they are not just because he doesn't like wearing it, because he doesn't look like a Merlin.
Yeah.
The picture that we've assigned him in the playtest is Ian McShane.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
So he's usually there, and he only wears the beard and the hat for official occasions.
Yeah.
Here, and he never leaves the Crucible unless something demands it to him. But yeah, so that's the tidbit about Polaris, who's again, he's in the core book. He's a lot of fun to role play. I got to role play him a couple of times when I took over for a bit, running their playtest. But for the most part, I get to play in the playtest, which is awesome because I get to use the mechanics and see them broken.
No, I mean that was because we did speak to another designer months ago, and one of his he kind of had this idea of me running a game in his system, but the way it's kind of planned out, I don't have time to kind of.
It's hard.
Just learn a new system without having played it first. So that's.
So I like your idea for the new show, right? That's the grit list. That's going to be awesome. I'm going to watch the episodes. It's going to be great. I'm excited.
I mean, that's kind of what inspired it, of kind of going, right, I don't have the time to learn all these systems that we want to play. But there are people out there who know them. There are people out there who design them, and
we're excited about them.
who better to kind of learn a system from the people who actually wrote it. So, we've already spoken to yourself, and you have very gracefully accepted our invitation and will be joining us.
That's awesome. I'm excited.
We do have one of the other players. He's actually in the chat right now.
Oh, great!
I
don't see the chat. I'm sorry.
He is Couch. He is.
Oh, Couch! Yay! Hi, Couch. You're awesome, man.
So yeah, he's going to be joining us in that game as well, and we're just really, really looking forward to it. And I'm everything you're telling me is just making me want to play it more and more.
That's awesome. That is awesome. One of the things too I wanted to talk about. I don't want to go into mechanics too much because it can be boring because people are like, oh, okay, it's strength.
No, not to me. Talk mechanics all you want.
Well,
that's fine.
The idea behind this is like people. There's a thing going around. You get people that are talk about power gaming and min maxing.
Mm.
The idea behind Coven Crucible is that there is no such thing as min-maxing because you are supposed to play a specialist. The way the character creation rules are created or were designed are that you're not going to be able to be a really good jack of all trades. You're designed to be a specialist. Like you're a hacker, you're a hitter, you're a diviner, you're a hexer. Any of that. You're a survivalist. You are an acrobat, a fighter, whatever. A socialite. You're a criminal. You are all of these. You have in the creation. You are designed to be a specialist. So the idea is to come together as a team. So it's you can either make a character and then meet up with other players who have made other characters, and then you can play that way, or you can all sit down together in a session 0 and say who wants to be what specialist, and then they talk about it, and they create these specialists, which I think is either one is fun. I enjoy, and oh look, all rogues, great. But that's the idea is they're specialists, and then because I'm a big geek and I love acronyms, I took the 4 stats, which is your 4 attributes, right? Which is like how like where normally you see the 6 from D&D or something. This is there's will, there's body, there's agility, and there's magic. Those are the 4. I put it that way because I like that it's spelled wabam, and so that's how easy for me to remember. Because I'm a dork, right? So the will is your mental acuity, your body is obviously your body, your agility is obviously your agility, and your magic is obviously your magic. It's very simple. Those range from 1 to 7. Right?
Yeah.
And then you have the 9 skills, which if they go like academics, artistic, athletics, magic, martial, social, strategic, technical, and underworld. Those are the 9 skills, and those range from 1 to 13, the levels. Yeah. And then you have, don't ask me to do the 63 sub skills. Right? But then there's each skill has sub skills. And so you assign levels to those sub skills as you create your character, the specialist. And you select those, and then you have traits, which define, maybe you're strong-willed, maybe you're huge size, healthy, sturdy, things like that. Wealthy, maybe you're a billionaire. Who knows?
So can you give us an example of one of the subskills? So, for example, if I say academics.
There's academics, there's linguistics, lore, computers, history, parapsychology, things like that, theology. The reason why we did it this way, like that's a lot, and it could be daunting. Again, that's where people get a bit, little hesitant or reticent because there's 63 subskills. Where am I going to put my levels? And I only have 63 levels to put in these. What's going on? Well, that's okay. Because we look at what you want to do and how you want to make this character, what you want this character to be, what you want to specialize in. But the reason we also did it that way is because, it's a lot. But during gameplay, if you encountered a thing and the storyteller says, okay, give me let's say you're trying to break into someplace and the door is locked. Okay. Or no, let's say you're in the subway and you see somebody and you want to pick their pocket. Okay, cool. Well, the storyteller will say, okay, well, give me an agility plus athletics plus sleight of hand. And then the player can say, well, I designed my character to be a criminal. So can I instead maybe roll agility plus underworld plus larceny? And then you can say, yeah, sure. Or if the storyteller thinks it's appropriate, you can. So we designed it so that it promotes this idea of letting the characters use skills they're good at in ways that maybe is not rigidly defined. And we didn't want to rigidly define those things. So that way, that's why there's so much diversity, because you can come up with any number of ways to do the same action with any number of different subskills. You know, um, like blind fighting is a huge one,
Okay.
because you can use blind fighting. Obviously, it's very much like I am I'm one with the force with me type of thing, right?
Yeah.
From Rogue One. But you can also use blind fighting as a magic plus magical plus blind fighting,
Yeah.
to then see in the dark or see 360 without actually having to see it. You can sense it magically. So that's part of the sub skill aspect of why there are so many, and why they're but we listed, and just because it's listed under a certain skill doesn't mean you can only use it with that skill. You can use it with anything. Wild and
Okay.
wacky combinations. There's so many combinations.
Okay. So, like, for example, you could use, I don't know, linguistics with magic,
Yeah.
for example, to
In
kind of
fact,
find
people
a
do
way.
that. They
Yeah.
do that on a regular. Our play testers have done that regularly when they go to
Hmm.
when we do heists in, like, Bolivia,
Yeah.
or they'll go somewhere where they don't speak the language, so they'll do magic plus magical plus linguistics to, for the duration of the spell, they can understand and speak that language.
No, that is
Uh,
cool. I like that.
Thank you, thank you.
That definitely gives. I think it does give that level of versatility where you can kind of go, right, this is a problem and this is how I want to approach it.
Right, and because
I mean,
people think they tackle problems differently. We don't want to railroad them into one thing. We want them to experience the full, their express themselves fully in the way they're comfortable with and they're used to.
yeah.
And one of the things too, is that's really super important to mention, is witch is a gender neutral term. Male
Hmm.
witches, female witches, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're just a witch. If you are either you call yourself a witch because you're focused on a house and you do all this stuff, or, like I said before, I'm a hitter who casts a few spells. So
Yeah. I mean, it sounds fascinating. And,
thanks.
you know, because I mean, I think we were talking about it earlier. You are quite new to, like, the Threads community.
Oh yeah, very much. Not very,
Trust
like,
me,
a few months maybe.
I haven't been there much longer than you, to be honest. But yeah, because you kind of appeared, and again, just your general positivity is it's contagious, and
Thanks.
always a great person to kind of have around. But it took a
Appreciate
while
that.
for you to actually kind of go, oh yeah, by the way, my family and I, we've got this system. And you're like,
Exactly.
holy shit.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I don't. We don't have a company threads. I'm just using my personal one,
yeah.
because again, we have a company Instagram, but again, I don't have to log out, log back in our Switch accounts and do all this stuff. I just want to talk and meet people and support the community. That's all I want to do. So
Yeah, I mean, our threads is basically the podcast threads, but I'm the one who runs it, much to Justin's chagrin at times,
right.
because I'll just say whatever I want. And yeah, and unfortunately, Justin and I do have kind of quite contradicting opinions on certain things.
I can imagine. Winnie the Pooh.
Particular
You know.
Winnie the Pooh and Winnie the Pooh and an ampersand company.
Right. Yeah. 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 I'm with you on that too.
So unfortunately for him, I'm the one behind the social media.
Well, I mean,
But
all he has to do is hop on it.
oh, he's on it. He just isn't as vocal as I am. But yeah, it is great. And talk to us about Unbound. This is obviously
Ah.
Kickstarter. You've just been funded.
Yep.
Talk to us about what prompted Unbound. How did that kind of start off?
Well, it started off with us wanting to do an addendum, and then, but we have all this stuff. Like, we have these houses and this lore, and it's not really expanded. Like, we really want to expand on it, and it's a lot of stuff in the core book is very Eurocentric, only because we didn't want to appropriate any kind of culture that we're not familiar with, right?
Yeah.
Um, So, and that was one of the criticisms, was that it's very Eurocentric. Well, yeah, it is, and that's on purpose because we don't want to appropriate.
Yeah.
The goal is to get that. We would love to be able to hit that international stretch goal where we do international houses and international lore, so that we can then reach out to people from those cultures and say, "Hey, can we have a conversation? And maybe you can. This is what we're doing. Maybe you can help us put it into this book." And of course, we pay them. Um, but have sensitivity readers, have things like that where people can then see representations of their culture in a way that is not appropriating, not
Yeah.
offensive, and something that really helps them identify with this system and this game and maybe do something really cool and fun. So that's where the Unbound started.
Yeah.
What's in it currently, and also, we we had one of our playtesters took the game and ran it at a convention, which was really awesome. And they then came back to us with feedback that everybody wanted to play werewolves and vampires. Like, okay, cool. And
Really?
they're really into, well, one of the things too is a familiar. Like as a witch, you can have a familiar, that's animals, and most of them are
Yeah.
normal animals, sometimes supernatural animals. Um, so they were really into choosing their animal, and one of the things that's going to be in Unbound, one of the scenarios is it's called Familiars to the Rescue, where the witches get trapped, and so they all get to roleplay their familiars for a session to help them. So it's kind of cool. We did that in the playtest, and it was phenomenal. It was so much fun. So that's going to be in the Unbound. There's going to be a lot more scenarios. I wrote a lot more traits,
Yeah.
a lot more traits. Um, a few new mechanics. Redefining some of the mechanics, which is also going to be in the free addendum, like
Yeah.
ritual casting. Like I mentioned, magic is fleeting. Magic lasts in minutes. You cast a spell, it's only going to last minutes. And if you ritually cast a spell, it lasts hours. Magic
Okay,
items
that's
last, yeah. So
yeah.
that's why we don't have like spell slots, because magic is fleeting. Yeah, I can cast a spell to convince someone that this $100 bill is a $100 bill, but 15 minutes later, they're going to look at their drawer and go, "Why is this $1 bill in here? This person gave me a one." And then it's going to be, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so Unbound is going to have that. It's going to have a lot more twist. It's also going to be tailored toward higher level campaigns, because we've been running the playtest for 2 years. So you can imagine 13 XP every month for 24 months is a lot of XP on a character sheet. They're pretty powerful witches. So we needed to come up with some ideas.
Yeah, for something bigger,
Yeah.
more,
So I came up with combo traits, which are traits that combine when you have reached your cap level in your sub skills, in two magical sub skills, you can then buy this trait, which gives you an additional ability, which is kind of neat.
Okay.
And then we expand upon the planes of existence. We mentioned them; they have a very brief write up in the core book, but we've expanded upon them and really fleshed them out to where it's and added new traits associated with them. So that you can explore these areas. You may not want to, but one of the cool things that I really enjoyed was that we have, obviously the Fey plane. There's Infernal plane where demons come from, and then there's the Astral plane, which is horrifyingly dangerous and terrifying. But then there's the Internet. The Internet is considered its own plane of existence.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so there's techno witches who, there's hackers, and then there's magical hackers, and then there's techno witches who, there's a house of techno witches that they planar travel to the internet, basically projecting themselves into the internet, which is kind of neat. We came up with
That
mechanics
just
for that.
sounds fucking awesome.
Thank you. I'm excited about it. That's
yeah, I mean, me too. I want to play that.
Oh, absolutely. We can talk about all that, because when we do the idea, one of the things that's also coming with the Kickstarter, one of the add-ons was that if you buy one of the add-ons, which is like I think $100 add-on, you get a 1-year subscription to play. I'm starting in February. We're starting a game on our official Discord server of Coven Crucible. It's a once a month, second Saturday of every month. Is going to be a big gathering, and there's going to be plot, everything. But then you have access to the server 24/7, so you can do soft role play with all your friends. You can actually then say, "Hey, I have my circle of friends. We would like to run a scenario. We hire you as a storyteller? Absolutely. It's a flat $10 a month per person, or $10 a month for your subscription for that. And that's and then you get your own private downtime channel because there's downtime actions. You get help with character creation, and then the once a month game, and then access to the soft RP areas where you can role play with other players at any time. So that's going to be in the that's what the Kickstarter is. Not really mentioned in Unbound, but that's one of the things that I'm pretty excited for. And that's because of that. Obviously, the rules have to be ready by February.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have a write up of the rules. That's not going to be the full fledged PDF or hard copy, but the rules will be in a format of a sectional format, a PDF, so it's easy access. Everybody can access it.
Yeah.
And then so when we do the actual play with you guys for the crit list, it's going to be those rules as well. So
yeah, I mean, we're looking forward to it, and even more now. You said
Thank
techno,
you.
You said techno witches, and that's what I want to be.
It's awesome. It's and I've had a lot, and we've play tested it a little bit. We haven't really delved too much into it, but we're going to be doing that sometime in the near future before the game actually starts, just to make sure the mechanics are sound.
Yeah.
But it's the same as planar travel on it. I mean, we've created all sorts of like denizens specifically for the internet. Instead of demons, they're daemons, Daemons.
Yes.
And they're basically like code that's in a form that will protect things. So there's all sorts of cool stuff. And all sorts of some fake creatures. I posted one this morning on Instagram, the Catkin. They're like, oh, look, they're little thumb-sized cats that grow on a tree. There's like hundreds of them in this tree. That's so cute. And you step on one, all of a sudden they swarm you, and you are eaten. It's terrifying. And then there's things, yeah.
It's a real shame that Justin couldn't join us, because I think this whole internet witches and all that with the daemons, I think he'd just be losing his nut. But
hey, it's awesome
right now.
That's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to chatting more about it and getting you guys characters made up, and we can. If everybody wants to play techno witches, we can do that too. That'd be awesome. I don't know.
You said a couple of them, and I'm kind of going, okay, criminal sounds interesting.
That too. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. One of the playtests we have one of the houses is the Baba Yagas, as you might imagine, are scary and terrifying. And they in Chicago, the Wednesday night playtest, the voice group, they're known as It's Crime Time, because that's what they do. They recently orchestrated a heist from the Federal Reserve in Chicago. They stole like $100 million. It was amazing. And then they instantly, like 2 weeks ago, I think we orchestrated a theft of the supply room, the Louvre, which was also because they had magical defenses as well as mundane defenses, and it was really, really cool to see this in action. So, and to be a part of it, because I'm actually getting to play on Wednesday nights. So yeah, it definitely sounds like it sounds like a bit of me. It sounds like something that I could excellent.
Really,
well, I'm excited. That's great.
Yeah,
I just want to get this out to everybody, because I think there's something for everyone in here, even if they don't even if they're not into witches or not into whatever. That's why we really want to get to that shift or stretch goal, so people we can submit the mechanics in Unbound for playing a werewolf, or like we have a group of were raccoons that are a criminal circle. It's hilarious, and their leaders, right? Oh yeah, they're hilarious, and their leader is a possum named Randall. It's this gigantic possum who just sits in this panoramic painted van with a wizard on the side. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it's I just want to get it out there to people so they can see that there's something for them.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. I mean, the more we're talking about it, the more intrigued I am, the more excited I am to actually give this a whirl. So, I mean, first of all, how is the Kickstarter going?
It's going pretty good. It's we funded, and that's exciting.
Yes.
It's it's slow but sure. We've had a couple of successful ones. We at one point we decided we were going to try to run we take the core mechanics from Coven Crucible and make it into its own mechanic called the Hydra Core system, and it's a D12 generic system that you can then apply to whatever you want to. That didn't fund, which is okay. That gave us time to focus on Coven Crucible.
Yeah.
And then after this, we're going to probably start putting out supplements, and probably house supplements. And if we don't reach the stretch goal for the shifters, we might put that out as a supplement. It's all about getting stuff out there for people to be able to apply to this, to play something they want to play.
Yeah.
So hopefully, but right now the Kickstarter is going good. We have 7 more days, and I'm hoping that we can hit that that stretch goal for the shifters. I'd love to hit the international one. That would be phenomenal. We reached out to a few of the people in real people in the different communities. There's a friend of ours named James Devine, who's a palm reader. We reached out to him, and he's graciously allowed us to use him as an NPC.
Amazing.
We reached out, right? And then Jonathan Galvez, who runs the Instagram Latinos Against Spooky Shit. He agreed to let us use his likeness as an NPC. And so one of the scenarios.
If you want to use me, go for it.
Excellent. That'd be awesome. Excellent. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, just go wild.
That's one of the things too. Well, one of the reasons is because there's this thing called a Witch Expo. It happens in Chicago every year, where it's like a convention for witches, but not just for witches. It's the public can come. It spreads, advocacy and information about being witch and all that, plus selling things. There's a petting zoo with a unicorn and a Pegasus, and I mean it's ridiculous. But there's also panels, and so we get to use some of these people as panelists in this scenario, which is really cool. So, which is why we thought we'd really like to reach out to some people and and use them as NPCs. I think it'd be awesome.
I will gladly allow you to use me as an NPC.
Excellent. Thank you.
I've got no problem with that whatsoever. You go for it.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you can make me as much of a dick as you want as well. It's not going to be too different to real life, so it'll be fine.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
So what is in the future? What do you where do you kind of see this going? Where?
Well, we're going to be, the idea over this, after it's published, is to take it around to some local conventions and get the word out that way. And we see it as, creating more content. The idea is always inclusivity, inclusivity in every aspect of the word, and we want to make certain, we're doing it, appropriately. So that's, I think our goal has always been to include as many cultures as possible, but we want to do it, in a way that's going to be helpful and exciting and enticing, not, oh, look, and appropriate. So, right. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at getting more supplements. We're looking at expanding just people's awareness of it, because people right now don't really know about it. But there's so many out there. I wanted to make something that was unique, something that was user friendly, that excited people, that gets them thinking about how different ways they can do things. And looking at the same problem in a different light. And so I think that's where we're focused on, going to conventions, getting the word out, putting out more supplements, house books, again, supernatural creatures, delving into, planes, the different planes of existence, all that good stuff. So that's where we're looking to move. But again, we want to really get the word out. We don't want to start putting these things out without people being aware of it. Then it's just going to sit there. We want people to actually, be excited about it and use it and follow it and all that good stuff.
So, I mean, speaking about kind of raising awareness, and we kind of did touch upon this before we started recording. We did mention Threads. We mentioned how Threads has just kind of become the de facto sort of place for anybody who has got that sort of artistic or tabletop role-playing game inclination. Everybody just kind of seems to kind of conglomerate there. Have you seen it the awareness for Coven Crucible. Have you seen it? Have you seen an increase in that since kind of jumping on Threads?
Ever since I started on Threads talking about it, we've seen people start following the Kickstarter, which is good. We've seen people interested in it, and that's really been helpful. And so, absolutely, it has been. Well, plus the ttrpg community on Threads is just phenomenal. I can't speak highly enough about them. Welcoming, inclusive, friendly, understanding, a real sense of community, and not just in the name, but in deed as well, which is really where I'm at. You can say a lot of things, but it's the actions that really show, and they've just been phenomenal. And the positivity. That's why I love going on there, and which I wholeheartedly love the fact that you said a powerhouse of positivity, and I appreciate that. It's a wonderful compliment from you. But it's how I live my life, and I want to share that with other people, and other people are like that there as well. And it's amazing that you can just get this. You say contagious, and it is, and it's one of the good contagious,
it is.
Right?
It's amazing. It's
and so then to see that grow, and you can get all that momentum and get that positivity momentum going, and then just people feel supported, and it's it's the downside, of course, is that when things don't succeed, that's hard.
Yeah.
All the positivity of the world may not be able to change a certain thing, and that's okay. But the fact that if it doesn't succeed, everyone who is there before is still going to be there after, and they're still going to want to support you. So that's what's cool about it. That's what I love. I've seen that on Threads, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, Threads for us was a game changer.
Yeah.
We were just plodding along, and all of a sudden we hit Threads. We kind of became part of this community, and all of a sudden, all these avenues started opening up before us, like meeting people such as yourself, and being able to just kind of send a message and just kind of go, hey, do you want to come on? Do you want to come and meet us and have a chat? And just having that. And yeah, it is a phenomenal place to be if you're into tabletop role-playing games.
Absolutely. Can't speak high enough about it. It's been great. I'm getting new followers. I'm following new people every day. Not about the numbers, but it's the people that are like-minded and similar, and it's wonderful because you see people post something, and then the people that react to that may not be somebody you're following or somebody that follows you, but you get to see who they are. And then, like this morning, I connected with somebody about Minecraft. It was great. So
Minecraft is awesome.
Yeah, that's my stress relief. I get to go there and just do my thing and build and whatever, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm not a big PC gamer like Skyrim.
My 8-year-old is better at me than Minecraft, so I've kind of given it up. I'd say it was, it was good while it lasted.
Right.
But when he's going, here, Daddy, here's how you make this, it's like, okay.
Cool. Thanks, man.
I am now irrelevant.
Right, exactly. Okay, have fun. Great. I'll be over here now, wallowing in my pity.
Yeah, I'll just, I'll go watch the news or something. But he still gets me to like do the roofs of his houses because he gets bored.
Yeah, so, I get you.
I do still have some utility in Minecraft.
Still keeps you around for the roofs. I get you.
I can do the grunt work. He gets to do the cool shit. I do the grunt work.
I enjoy that too,
Oh yeah, you gotta love a bit of grunt work.
Yep. Grew up on it.
But yeah, Coven Crucible, this sounds absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't already, where can they find Coven Crucible? We'll reiterate this at the end of the show, but right now it's
on DriveThruRPG. There's a link on our website, 13thmoongames.com. The website is it's very, we're small. We don't have a lot of people. We don't have a dedicated website person or a company. So, it's small. It's got the pertinent information about us, about the Kickstarter, and about where you can get it. So that's it. DriveThruRPG, 13th Moon Games. You can reach out. You can, if you see me on Threads, reach out to me. If you see me on Instagram or 13th Moon Games on Instagram, reach out. Ask me. Happy to help. I just chatted with somebody the other day on Facebook about their partner was very excited about building a campaign, and I answered some questions to them. It's wonderful. So yeah, I'm open. hit me up. I'll
That's
answer your
awesome.
questions.
Yeah, do so. You know, find Coven Crucible, buy it, download it, support the Kickstarter. You know, we are now seeing, like, again, on Threads, we're just seeing more and more of these systems
Yeah, it's awesome.
come into the limelight, and there are some pure gems out there, and Coven Crucible is definitely one of them. I'm so excited to play this.
Thank you. Me too.
But just while we've got you here,
Sure.
I was hoping you could kind of lend some of your expertise. As in our lounge, we have Couch, Sci-Fi, and Corvus who send us topics.
Oh, great.
And what we do every week, we will select one, and it'll just be something that we'll discuss. And normally it's Justin and I, but obviously Justin's stuck in a hotel room somewhere.
That's okay.
With shitty internet.
Yeah, apparently. Although I'm glad that you took a screen capture of his face when it was frozen. It was pretty amazing.
That's going on Threads.
Excellent.
He's going to hate me for it, but it's going on Threads.
It'll be beautiful.
So the way I normally do this is I will roll a D3 and I will pick whose topic we get to discuss today. So going to be Couch is going to be 1, 2, Sci-Fi 3, 4, and Corvus 5 and 6. Okay, so that is 2. So it is going to be one of Couch's who's here in the chat.
Awesome.
Okay, so this is one that I think's fantastic. How do you think, or what are your thoughts on this hobby being helpful for mental health and the benefits it can bring?
Oh, I think it's amazing, especially if you have. Well, I think it can be amazing, but it can also it's a double-edged sword because you can join a group that can be a bit caustic sometimes, and that's I'm not saying that that's a thing, but it's just with people. So there are some times where it can be more harmful than good, but for the most part, if you have a really if you've built an inclusive, safe role-playing space, I think it can be tremendous because you can work through some of those things through a character, and you can see other people work through some of these things that maybe you're feeling, and see how it's handled and supported by the group around them. And I think for one of the biggest things about mental health that I've seen is just knowing that somebody else feels similar or has similar issues than you, and they speak about it.
Yeah.
So seeing that come through through character role play, through aftercare, which is super important, through checking in, through making sure that there's things in place so that if, say, a scene gets a bit too difficult, they can say, "Well, I got to step back for a minute," and we can stop, or we can, that person can step away, or however you want to do it. Yeah. So, but how it can help is, and again, I'm not a mental health professional, so I don't have all of the cool things. But what I can say is that I think it's super, super helpful for particularly folks that I've seen that are having trouble maybe transitioning, or folks who are having self, body image, things like that, where they can then portray and see how it's accepted, and see it being accepted, and seeing that there are people out there that will support that. So yeah, definitely a positive. It's much more helpful than harmful. Now, again, there are groups and there are people out there that can be caustic, but that's with everything. But finding that safe place where it's really meshes, and you feel like, and I feel really strongly that our playtest group is of that. So
I mean, I do agree, and I do think that yes, unfortunately there are toxic elements, like in any sort of subculture, in any sort of group there are toxic elements, but I feeling quite encouraged that toxicity is definitely getting pushed out. It's definitely something that we'll never see the end of it 100%, but we are seeing more and more tables kind of going, right, this is an inclusive table, this is a safe space.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I mean, I can speak from personal experience. When I first started in this hobby, wasn't the best wasn't going through the sort of best time of my life. Things were kind of falling apart a bit at the seams. Obviously, not helped entirely by obviously, addiction issues and alcoholism, but this kind of hobby, it gave me that once a week escape. Yep. It gave me that 4 or 5 hours a week. I could come down, I could sit around a table with people who, I mean, when we first started playing, these were people that I knew. We hadn't kind of reached the point of being friends entirely yet, but there were people I knew, people I felt comfortable with. I could sit around a table and I could just switch off. I could, put all troubles behind me and play a version of myself. Play a sort of extreme version of myself. But I could do that, and I could do that within the safety of a sandbox.
Yep.
And I could explore avenues, and I could explore reactions, and I could react. And then those 5 hours a week became 5 hours a week with hours here and there during the week that are interspersed when I'm thinking about my character, when I'm thinking about a level up, when I'm thinking about, what feat I'm going to take next. And, and it just slowly kind of crept in, and it did help me to a certain degree compartmentalize the things I was going through and give me the ability to kind of go, right now I'm going to put this here while I do something else.
Yep.
And then I'm going to kind of go back to this. Then I'm not going to leave it. I'm going to go back and I'm going to address this. But right now I've got important things to take care of. And it did help me kind of find that focus and find that sort of drive to kind of, not necessarily push through anything, but at the same time deal with the things I was having to deal with in an orderly fashion without it becoming too overwhelming.
That's amazing. Yeah, exactly. Like, you have that one thing that you're looking forward to. That may be that one thing may get you through the week. Sometimes it's that one thing, just one, that will get somebody through. And that's what's amazing, And then, like, that's a really good point you brought up, I think, too, being able to compartmentalize. Like, look, I know I've got all these problems over here going on, but for these next few hours, those are out there. And right now I am in here, and I am in this moment, and I am in this character, and I get to do the fun thing. And that it's okay that I get to do this fun thing, even with all the other stuff that's happening. That's completely all right, because it's important. It helps, and it's fun, and it shouldn't have to be all work all the time. So
yeah, exactly. And because of this, not only that, but I've never been a very social person. Still aren't, and that's probably never going to change. I've always had very sociable jobs, but I've never kind of chosen to kind of socialize too much. But because of this commitment, this weekly commitment that we had, I've forged lifelong friendships and, people in my life who are now the godparents to my kids and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's, this has helped me. This has given me something to kind of focus on, and given me something that that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, well, especially too, you've got people with social anxiety who then can come to these things and they can start expressing themselves, and it helps them express who they are outside of game, which I think is awesome. You know, so all sorts of things that this hobby can do. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it is hugely beneficial. And again, I think you were quite accurate when you said there are still toxic elements, and those toxic elements are still going to be there, but thankfully they are in decline.
Exactly, and you get people standing together against them. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. You know, one person steps out of line, and now it's a case of you're dealing with a lot of us now. You're dealing with a vast majority of people going, no, this isn't good. This isn't right. This is wrong. And it's phenomenal to see. And you know, and I said to you before we started, this is the greatest game ever.
It is. It absolutely is. It's one that I'm very fortunate that I get to work in the industry. And I tried. I tried working a 9 to 5. I tried working the outside gigs, and it always comes back to this. And so this is where we're at. It's awesome.
Yeah, and long may it continue.
Yes, right, exactly.
Long may it continue. I expect to see a lot more from Coven Crucible.
Oh, I'm hoping that's the plan.
I'm quite confident that we will. I'm quite. I think you. I think you guys are onto something here, and I think you are.
I hope so. I hope so. That's my belief. I think we are too. And I believe in it. I mean, I put it out there, and now just getting people to see it, and I think the crit list, doing the actual play, getting people see it. We were talking about doing one of those as well, like recording a session and posting it out there. But I think nowadays with everybody doing that, I think that would be the way to go. So.
Yeah, I think so, and and hopefully any sort of exposure that we can help give. I
appreciate it. Everything.
We have been fortunate to find these systems that without threads we wouldn't have found.
Right.
And we kind of want other people to see this. I want however many people watching this episode today kind of going, the internet as a plane of existence. I like that. Because I can
play a witch that goes there. Yes.
Yeah, I mean that is just fucking inspired.
Thank you. Well, my wife and I grew up on the movie Hackers, so
I was mentioning that movie today. No, sorry, it was yesterday before my Pathfinder game. It was like it's one of those 90s movies that is just incredibly 90s.
Yep. Hack the planet, baby.
Hack the Planet. That and the other one we came with, and this is a bit of a deeper dive, but Prayer of the Roller Boys.
I don't. That sounds familiar, but I can't.
That was a Corey Haim.
Oh,
and they were all rollerblading. It was
rollerblading.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, that was you know what? That was with young Jack Black, wasn't it? In that movie too, I think maybe.
I'm going to Google that. The moment we finish recording, I'm Googling that.
I know he was in I think he was in one of those movies back in the 90s. I forget the name of it, but yeah, maybe it was. I don't remember. It's been a while. I've forgotten more than I can remember right now. Yeah. I just recently found the original, like the 80s Conan, and so I've been watching that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
that's awesome. But I do believe that's all we've got time for here tonight. Okay. So
much fun. Thank you so much.
No, I mean, Stephan, thank you ever so much for joining us. Once again, do you want to kind of reiterate where people can find you on the internet, where they can find 13th Moon Games, where they can find Coven Crucible? Just let people know where they can take part and how to.
It's 13thmoongames.com is the website, and I think those have links to our Instagram. Bald Beastie on Threads. I share the same image basically for all of my social media. So if you see me doing the push-up with my son on the back, that's gonna be me. Some bald guy doing a push-up. And then let's see, Bald Beastie on Threads, 13th Moon Games on Instagram, Bald Beastie on Instagram, Bald Beastie on Facebook. I think that's all we have for social media wise. The drive through RPG for Coven Crucible. That's where we're going to put the free PDF for the addendum once it's all finished. And then Kickstarter. Just look up Coven Crucible. Use the ampersand Coven ampersand Crucible on Kickstarter, and you'll find us over there, Unbound. That's where we're at. Come say hi.
Yeah, definitely, people get involved. Let's kind of get this next stretch goal. I want to see this shifter.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's the mechanics for it are a lot of fun.
Come on, come on. We got this.
Yeah. Let's share it. Share those links. That's all. You know, if people want to share it, that's great. If people want to contribute, that's awesome. But sharing, getting the word out there, that's the biggest thing. Really helped us.
Definitely. So, you know, tell your friends about Coven Crucible.
Right.
You can play a John Wick witch who travels to the plane of the internet.
We had one of the guys, one of the characters actually avoid getting shot by shooting the bullet out of the air. So you can do that. It's amazing.
Come on. I mean, that should be a tagline. Just have that.
Right?
Just have that as a tagline. You want to shoot bullets out of the air? This is the system for you.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a great chatting with you, John.
No, not to worry. As for me, you can find me at Natural Juan at dice.camp on Mastodon. You can catch up with everything we do at toolegit2crit.uk, and you can also interact with us at toolegit2crit on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, as well as our Facebook group. If you're looking for Justin and you want to catch up with him, you can always find him sometimes streaming on Twitch, and I do believe it is justinaccurate.tv. And if you like what you see and you like what you hear, then, you know, give us a rating, subscribe to us, tell your friends about us. Let's get this word out. Let's kind of grow this community that we have been very fortunate to be a part of, and we just kind of want to grow with it. So, you know, once again, my eternal thank yous to Stephan for joining us. It's been an absolute blast just hearing all about Coven Crucible and getting to know you in person.
Thank you. You too.
It's been my pleasure. It really has. And most importantly of all, thank you to everyone who's taken their time out of their busy day to listen to, in this case, one idiot and a legend talk about tabletop role-playing games. So thank you very much. Good night, everyone.